Meisterhau. This is Tyler's edition. Not really a game, but a essay, I suppose.
Yeah, you want to talk us through it?
Yeah, a supplement, some musings. Basically, I did something completely different. I made mine totally system agnostic, so you can use the system that's in the beginning of the book. You can use anything else. I've used a little bit of formatting to basically say anything's underlined, use your game's equivalent. I try to use terminology that most games have something for. Some games will call it stun. You might not have a stun, but you might have a slowing mechanic. And I presume, dear reader, that you have enough intelligence to be able to come up with, that's where it goes for. But basically, I went with a recent lamentation by Crispy and a lamentation by a lot of people, the dreaded I attack. Yuri SC, who you'll see in some of our comments from time to time, and Shauner would always make the joke of the players are usually silent until combat happens, and then you hear I attack it, and that's it. And you'll start losing wait, there's 4 goblins. I don't know. I attacked the one on the left, and you're painting no picture about what's going on. And more than combat being slow, which is a very commonly complained about thing, even outside of 40, combat is just flat boring because you go from I swing my sword at it, I punch it in the face, at best. The lengthy descriptions are often beaten out, and you shouldn't necessarily be using a lengthy description, but a more flavorful description.
Yeah, evocative.
Right. Crispy was lamenting that, in a lot of the HEMA space, the historical European martial arts space, of which I'm an instructor, the terminology is very artful. And even in modern Olympic fencing, I mean, we have fléché and first, second, and third intention strikes. And we have these terms of art that unless everybody at your table is in the know, you're going to say it and everyone's going to go, huh? You don't want that reaction. So this is sort of how to make your sword combat in particular. I was going to cover other things, but brevity is not my strong suit. So particularly how sword combat can be made a lot more interesting. And I kind of go over how on a sword, there are multiple different weapons. And I picked this great image from Joachim Meyer's 1570 treatise, where he has these modified armored fighting swords where the pommel is spiked, the crossguard is shaped into like a little axe blade, and then a spike on the other end. And then, so every single bit of the sword can be used as a weapon.
This is one of my most look forward to entries in the mixtape. Watch out for our upcoming Mythic Britain game. I'm going to try implementing these tips.
Awesome.
I will as well. Yeah,
it's so cool, and it's hard to just tell a player to be like, be more descriptive without giving them a vocabulary to work with, and I think that's what makes this so awesome.
Right, and I didn't want to, and it's done in I think 9 pages, less than 10 pages at least.
It's very short.
So it's a lot easier of a pill to swallow than go watch 2.5 hours of HEMA videos on YouTube. Go read through a 500-year-old treatise that's 160 pages long. And you don't have to do all that. Go through those for images, certainly, but I've left you a couple here to give you an idea, particularly on some of the more niche stuff. Because, of course, those treatises will show things as simple as a guy swinging his sword and cutting someone's hand off. But I think we all know that that's possible. So I specifically chose these few images because they show some of the interesting things. Like if you go back to the first image there, not the first, but the second, the one preceding this one.
Go to the page.
Yeah. If you go through here, you can just look at this image and see that he's using his sword to hook around the other guy's leg. And, he's not even using it for its blade. He's just using it as a stick, basically, a tool to grapple with. And so all of the different things that people probably aren't thinking about.
Yeah,
at least in my experience. Yeah.
That blue guy looks like he's not having a great time.
No,
he's not. And he's not even damaged.
Yeah, not yet, anyways.
Oh, he's about to be.
Yeah, I hope he's not on cobblestone, because
If I had to take away one star, it would be no reference to ending him rightly with a pommel.
oh gosh, if I had pulled out MS Gladiatoria, that would be a whole can of worms. Oh my god, that is a weird manuscript. They're all in full plate, head to toe, but they're not wearing gauntlets. They're just barehanded, and you're like, well, you do get a lot more mobility with but I like my fingers too much. No, thank you. I would wear gauntlets. It's so
For
weird.
sure.
And it's the only one like that. So I don't know what.
It was probably an in joke of a group. Maybe, I don't know.
It could have been, or it could have been.
That is funny.
Yeah. Everybody had their preferences. Then it's something to think about, something to look at, and so yeah. Other than that, I give some different thoughts to think about. Hitting with the flat of the sword, or grappling with the sword, and I give a few short examples of how you might use that in combat. 1 to 2 sentences. Keep it short, keep it within a turn.
One thing that helps is imagine yourself there, in the combat, and don't think above the combat. What would be a cool description? Think, okay, the rules say he parried me, but I still do half damage anyway. What does that look like? Okay, my blade catches his, losing most of the momentum, but it slides along the blade, and then I hit him, or whatever.
Give him a good old poke.
Obviously,
poke. I have to read the manuscript from our good old Tyler. Hey,
what's up, Conway?
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Doing great.
I
thought your background was real for a second.
No, it is. He's reporting from the trenches. He's achieved 5D.
Yeah, where do you think he got the experience to make his game?
You know what's funny? I just finished my last exam, right? And I'm still dressed the part, and I think it fits perfectly.
Yeah.
There you go. So Conway's a contributor as well, and we'll get to his game Trench Punk. Excuse me. But anyway, we've got the anatomy of the sword. Do you want to go through that, or go to the?
Yeah.
So studied the blade.
Yeah. So I focused on the sword first. I hope in the second one I might follow this trend. I might do something totally different, but I'd like to eventually have the multiple different aspects of combat out there. So cover different weapons, cover wrestling, cover unarmed striking, because I have a little bit of experience in a lot of things. So that's why I tell people I will not be your best instructor in anything, but I can probably yap at you about, about at least the surface level on a bunch of different stuff. So covering basic anatomy of a sword, not getting into all the weird things like Swiss long swords, but you can delve into that research on your own. But the stuff that pretty much every sword has, not all will have a cross guard, of course, but differences. And I mentioned explicitly there with blade geometry, every different blade is intended for a different purpose. If you want to look into oak shot typology, there's 20 different types of one-handed and two-handed sword, vaguely, and most of the difference is how the blade is shaped. Some are better for penetrating armor like chainmail, some are better for fighting unarmored opponents. All of these different things. It's gonna be up to you how much you find value in adding mechanics to that sort of thing versus how clunky that could become. So I kind of left that just, hey, here's another thing to think about. And of course, this could add, it could add something to the character too, or to the setting, right? If people are carrying around big, wide, thin falchions, it tells you armor probably isn't prevalent, right?
Yeah.
Or at least they're not used to fighting it or not planning on fighting armor, right? Whereas if they've got these long, thin, but really stout blades that don't have much flex in them, they're probably expecting to fight somebody in armor.
And this is one of the aspects of the 4D book that I really love so much. It's just pure, unadulterated passion that everyone put into this, right? And Tyler basically lives and breathes this, and it's great to just have like that soapbox moment and put it all to paper. And I think
Yeah, for sure.
But while you've got me here as a captive audience, instead of me just rambling about it, did any of you have any questions for me that that the thing itself didn't elucidate?
Well, I haven't read all of it yet, so it may have been in there. So forgive me if I give a question that you already answered. But what is your favorite blade?
Oh, longsword. Just generally, like no specific typology, but longsword easily.
All right.
It is the most versatile melee weapon maybe that's out there, and people always say, "What about halberds? What about polearms?" Okay, take it inside somewhere. A longsword is just short enough that you can use one indoors. A halberd, no. Any polearm, once you're getting to that length, you always have enough sticking out behind you that going around corners, you're going to get caught up on something. You're going to poke your friend that's standing behind you. A window's going out. The dog is running away. And there's a reason that when we read from like period bar brawls, we hear about guys drawing swords. We hear about guys grabbing their swords off the wall or grabbing somebody else's sword and unsheathing it. We don't really hear about guys grabbing halberds that are, propped up against the wall. It's just not it's not practical because you got to think pick up a 6-foot 2x4 and try swinging that around inside. It's not really doable. But longswords, they don't do anything the best, but they can work in every single situation. And just like the litany of different ways that you can use a longsword there's a reason they lasted 200 years more or less in active like combat use.
It depends on what you want to call a longsword, right? Because you can trace that back to the Roman spada, in which case it can last more than 1,000 years.
Or the Greek xyphos, two-handed swords that can cut and can thrust. They've been around for thousands of years, if you want to argue that. But I love big crossguard. Probably like Swiss longswords are awesome. I love they solve the only problem that the longsword has, which is the hand protection isn't the best. So
there you go.
I do have a question. I have heard before that swords in the medieval period were kind of akin to policeman pistols, right? Because you see someone with a pistol on the side holster, you already know this person means business. Mm-hmm. Just to a certain extent, how swords were used, right? There was a sign of station that you were a professional soldier to a certain extent. Mm-hmm. Would it then be correct to say that a halberd is like a heavy machine gun and a longsword is like a carbine,
Yeah, a little bit. Because swords already were quite heavily regulated in most of Europe, right? It's not everyone was not walking around with a sword. In fact, it was pretty heavily regulated where you could carry a sword. Lots of people explicitly would join sword fencing guilds so that they had an excuse to carry a sword around, and you still weren't allowed to carry a sword in the church, in government buildings, and in fencing clubs. Now that one's a little bit odd, but if you think even today we don't really want people mixing up their sharps and their blunts, that is probably part of it. And two, there was an assumption of, why would you bring a lethal implement into a school with your fellow club mates? Like, what are you insinuating here? Right? Like, there's kind of that, no, we're going to duel people from other clubs, from other Fechschule, not each other. With each other, we just beat the head crap out of each other with the blunt steel, at least in the 1500s, I'm talking here.
Yeah.
But halberds, especially, that is a thing that it's not practical to carry around on a day-to-day basis, right? It would be like seeing someone open carrying an AR-15, where in many states, like in my state, that's absolutely legal. Even where it's legal, though, you're going to get stopped constantly and just asking, like, dude, what are you doing, man? And then every store you're going into, you're again having to go like, where do I put this? Anytime you bend over to pick something up off a shelf, it's banging everything. Like, it's just not practical, right? It's not practical. It raises a lot of questions.
Yeah.
That's really funny because I've been thinking about that a lot, whereas before, when I wasn't really like role playing, I'd be playing like D&D and like, I have a spear. Just have a spear all the time.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, thinking like playing Mithras and I'm like, okay, where am I putting this spear?
Right, exactly.
How am I carrying this? I'm like, I have to use this hand all the time to carry this thing.
And it's something I was talking with MMCV and a couple of the other guys in Inspiration the other day, where they were like, oh, dual wielding's kind of useless and silly. And I was like, you are automatically dual wielding if you want to carry a spear and anything else. Because the spear has to go in one of your hands, and in all of the we have lots of different texts on guys carrying a spear and a shield, and they have a sword on their belt. And the way that this becomes practical is you pass the spear off to your shield, so you have shield and spear in one hand, and then you have sword in the other hand. Congrats, you're dual wielding. Because where else is the spear going to go unless you just throw it on the ground?
Yeah.
There's also an interesting aspect there, which is the modern day we live in an industrialized society. We put way too little value on your kit, right? Because back in the day, if you're holding a sword, you're holding generational wealth, right?
Yes.
It's like a jet.
Yeah. Well, not quite that expensive. There was a little bit of an overcorrection on how expensive swords were, but not everybody had them at all.
Yeah.
You would immediately be marked as the elite. It maybe more like a really nice watch, like a Cartier or a Rolex, right? Like it's a really, really nice accessory, and we can see that in especially the scabbards that survive, where the scabbard is hugely highly decorated. It doesn't need to be. It serves no purpose other than to show how much of a badass and how rich you are.